Living in Virginia, you're in the fast lane on the information superhighway. We've invested $3 billion in Virginia's broadband network to give you one of the fastest internet connection speeds in the world, so you can build relationships, bring new business to our state, and meet the future of education. It's amazing what we can do together. Visit VCTA.com to learn how broadband connects the Commonwealth.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Chantel, connecting Virginians to their government. We're really pleased to have Bill Stanley with us.
I am more pleased to be here than you are.
And Delegate Charles Poindexter, good to see you, sir.
I'm glad to be back on your show, Woody.
Tell us a little bit about beautiful Franklin County.
Wow. Great Lakes, 2 of them, farmland, 4-year college, very strong local government. We're building out a new business park. Business is alive, tax rates are low, wonderful place to live, wonderful place to visit, great tourism places, the Blue Ridge Institute, wonderful place to live.
And you served on the Board of Supervisors there at one point.
I did, 8 years during some of that growth. So I remember one year the Board of Supervisors agenda was just like Loudoun County's.
Tell us about Charlie's Shop, though. That's a very popular
Charlie's Shop is still in business when I'm not in Richmond. I use this, it's a farm shop my dad and I built many years ago, and I use it to repair all my farm machinery and logging equipment and things like that.
Great.
And neighbors just have tended to drop in, you know, like the old country store where you go in and those codgers are sitting around just talking. That's what ends up at Charlie's Shop.
Great. Senator Stanley, your view of beautiful Franklin County.
I always like to call it the gentle fold in God's palm. I mean, you cannot get anything better than the people that live there, the vistas that you have, whether it's rural farmland or the lakes, as Charlie was talking about. It's really the best place to live, work, play, and raise a family. I'm so thrilled and honored to represent Franklin County. We're both from Glade Hill, which is one of the greatest places to be, and it's just a place that, you know, I bring my Northern Virginia friends down there, but I don't want them to get too cozy and then go back to Northern Virginia. I mean, I still like it to be our secret, but the people are just phenomenal.
Now, it's your home now, but you grew up in many different places. I understand your father was in the military.
He was. Our family was too poor, had never sent any of their children to college. My dad was valedictorian of his class, so the only way he could go to college, which he wanted to do, was to get a scholarship to the Navy. He said later in life he did that so that his children, my sister and myself, would be able to attend college. And I even wanted to go in the Navy, and he said, "Son, I went in there so you wouldn't have to." But we traveled all over the United States and then returned to Virginia in the early 70s in Virginia Beach, and then Northern Virginia in 1978, where he was at the Pentagon for quite a number of years. And so I got to see the transformation of Northern Virginia from a dairy producing area to
No way.
Yes. Number one industry in 1978 was dairy. And so, you know, we used to say in Northern Virginia was farm fields and football fields. And if you went west of Vienna, you were out of civilization. You were in the wilderness. So it was an amazing thing to watch that transformation, but always would return back into the South Side to see family. And so when my father passed away, my mom always wanted to be a lawyer, but women during her time didn't go to law school or weren't even allowed in law school. So I made her a promise that if she would go to law school and fulfill her dream, I was already in law school, that when she graduated, I would leave the firm that I was at and we'd start our own. So in 1998, at the age of 59, she passed the bar.
Wow.
And we started our law firm and opened the firm in Franklin County and have been there ever since. And still practice with my mother, who I'm very, very proud of to this day. And she's 77 years old. So when you have your mom as your law partner, it's a little bit different way to practice law.
Delegate Poindexter, what spurred your interest in politics, especially at the local level?
A group of neighbors come to see me and ask me to run for political office. But I had some of the same background. See, I started my career in Northern Virginia. And I actually went back to, with my minister, to counsel the farmer that sold the last farm in Fairfax County when it made that transition. And then I spent 28 years in Tidewater, and I worked for the Department of Defense. I traveled the whole world. And in '97, I said, I'm going home, beautiful home, to the people I love so much. So that's it. But I was honest with my answer. One Sunday, I just moved home, and I hadn't even built my house, and a group of people came to see me and asked me to run for Board of Supervisors. So that I served there 2 terms, and when our delegate retired, same group of people, plus some others, came and made that same request, and I gave in, and here I am.
Now, there's been some changes in the House of Delegates. We have a new speaker. We have some rules dealing with transparency. To talk about the new speaker's leadership and those transparency rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, Delegate Cox has been the majority leader for many years, so it was a natural move for him to be elected speaker. He's well respected on both sides of the aisle, and I would point out that the vote was 99-0 or 100-0, whatever it was. We have had several transparency pieces of legislation in the House over the last few years, and just added to what we have been on the line. You might recall the ethics bill.
Sure.
And some of the other things that we've passed in the last few years. So this time we opened up to video and live streaming video online and recorded for history. You can go back and pick it up later. Our full committee meetings. And in our subcommittees now, we're taking recorded votes on electronic machines, if they're working that day. If not, we make sense. So we continue to make efforts to make our government more transparent to the citizens of the Commonwealth.
And I think your committee assignments have remained the same.
They have. I'm still on agriculture, county, cities, towns.
And you're vice chair of agriculture.
Vice chair, and I'm also on the agriculture subcommittee. That is one of the largest committees that we have. We have more people probably at those meetings, maybe not quite as many as appropriations, but those are the 2 largest and probably more visible and controversial subcommittees.
And of course, agriculture brings a lot in terms of revenue to the Commonwealth of Virginia, does it not?
Well, agriculture and forestry are still the #1 industries in Virginia, and certainly in Senator Stanley is my district. So, yes, it's good to I'm actually a producer farmer, so it's good. We have 3 or 4 farmers in the House of Delegates now, so we have more of a balance now. I think in that regard.
Agriculture, agritourism, forestry, timber, cattle, pork, soy, corn, all those things make up, and even more, our industry in terms of that bountiful largesse, if you will.
Yes, and I think, we have the traditional farming methods, but what we're seeing is that agritourism is actually another new avenue by which our farmers can actually sell their products on their property. People come and visit and want to see farms. Those city folk come down and want to see what the good life's all about. And one of our great success stories in Franklin County was Homestead Creamery. A small creamery actually did milk the old-fashioned way, put it in the old-fashioned bottles, and would even deliver the milk. Right. So when I was in a small business work group with Governor McDonnell's business task force, we came up with the APHID bill, which is the Agricultural, Forestry, Industrial Development, which married private and public interests together with local government for processing. And so, we're growing things in Virginia, but sometimes for the processing, it's going out of the regions and even sometimes across into North Carolina. What that encourages actually is growing it here and processing it here. And one of the first benefactors of that APHID legislation and a grant from the state and working with the local government was our Homestead Creamery. And now, Homestead Creamery, which was another one of our best kept secrets in Franklin County, you can purchase it anywhere. You can go to Kroger, Safeway up in Northern Virginia, and you can purchase that great product. It's the best milk, best eggnog, custard, ice cream. And so we're proud of those kind of things where our agriculture can be put on display through the processing and really showing off on why we make the best products down where we live.
County, cities, and towns, I know that there's some legislation you've been working on there. Talk to us about that.
Well, that deals with the relationship between Richmond and local governments. So all the charters and what the local governments can do and may not do, since we're Dillon Rule State on that. One of the hot buttons this year has been the monuments. There are efforts and activists that want to tear our historical monuments down or remove them or whatever. And recall a couple of years ago, the General Assembly expressed its strong opinion that the current law to preserve our monuments and memorials should be strengthened, and or at least kept intact. And this year there was just the opposite. Several bills were filed to actually weaken, gut, or indeed do away with the law. So those bills came to my cities, towns, and county subcommittee yesterday morning. I gave everyone the opportunity to talk, and when the day was over, they were all defeated. But yeah, to pick up on something Senator Stanley said about AFID and the agriculture, back to that for a second. I'm still playing a role in that because that's an incentive program to a small business, say in Henry County or Patrick County or wherever, to go into a process, and such as homestead. Well, those incentives are money. And I'm still on the Appropriations Committee and on the subcommittee there that deals with that. So I've been working to increase the funding for those efforts over the last few years.
Senator Stanley, any of those monument bills, were any of those introduced on the Senate side that have come to your committee?
There were a number of them. As chairman of the Local Government Committee on the Senate, I dealt with those bills the first week of session. We had one straggler that came in later after that, and that was dealt with. We gave everybody a full hearing. It seems to be more of an emotional reaction rather than really contemplating the reasoning behind the statutes themselves and having a full discussion. And so rather than